Dr. Frank here, founder of AddictionMindset recovery coaching programs, where we help people quit nicotine, THC, energy drinks, and a whole host of other addictions. If you're addicted, chances are we can help. Don't hesitate to call our offices and be sure to subscribe and turn on your notifications. I drop a video a day when it comes to recovering from addiction and the things that you can do after you've become sober. So in today's video, I want to take a brief moment and talk about a super important topic, and that's cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome. And I really want to cover three key things in this video regarding CHS, or cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome. Thing number one, I want to talk about what it is. I want to talk about what the symptoms are and what usually happens to a person. And most importantly, I want to spend a lot of time talking about recovering from cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome. Those of you guys that are constantly throwing up, constantly nauseous from smoking weed, here's some simple tips. We're going to go over that in today's video. So what is CHS? What is cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome? It's important to understand a little bit of anatomy about your body before we go into the rest of the stuff. So your body has something called a cannabinoid system. And this system is kind of like your nervous system. It regulates things. It regulates sleep, it regulates appetite, it regulates mood control, it regulates gastrointestinal health, reproductive health, bone growth, pain control. So this is called your endocannabinoid system, and it regulates, it's like the master controller for all these other things in your body. Now, THC or CBD are two primary cannabinoids found within the cannabis plant. Now, when you consume cannabis or THC products, the THC binds to cannabinoid receptors in your body, which then activates or plays a role in the function of your endocannabinoid system. So you have this endocannabinoid system that's not fully developed until the age of 25, very important to keep that in mind, which regulates all these other things in your body. When you smoke THC, it influences this endocannabinoid system. Very important to remember that it regulates gut health and GI health, because a lot of you guys watching this video are probably at a point where you're vomiting constantly or constantly feeling nauseous from smoking. We'll talk about that. Now, what happens? Someone who's a chronic user of THC, a chronic user of cannabis, no pun intended, they may be at risk of developing cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome. And you can develop this from dry herb, you can develop this from carts, the oil cartridges, especially oil cartridges. You can develop this from edibles, definitely from edibles, a mixture of all three things, distillate, wax, whatever it is. Someone who uses a lot of THC might start to notice that they're feeling nauseous. They might start to notice that they're throwing up all the time. They might not start to notice that they have a bunch of pain, and the only thing that seems to help is hot showers. They might start to notice that they can't eat without smoking. They might start to notice weight loss. Maybe you've lost 10, 15, 20 pounds and you smoke weed all the time and you're constantly throwing up. Chances are you either have or you're developing CHS, or cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome. And chances are you've been to the emergency room if you're watching this video, maybe more than once. On average, patients with this will usually go 6 to 7 times before they're properly diagnosed with this condition. And that's if you told the doctors that you smoke. If you didn't tell them you smoke, good luck. They'll probably never diagnose you properly. So these people get sick. They go to the emergency room. They've probably been there a bunch of times. The emergency room does the worst thing possible. They give the person painkillers, opioids, and other products to try and help relieve the pain. So now here's this person already drugged up. You've had too much cannabis. They pump you full of opioids and other things, which just screw up the endocannabinoid system even further. And then you're sent home to deal with all the consequences of it. And that is what CHS is in a nutshell, and that's how it's dealt with. And now you're at home watching this YouTube video because you have no idea what to do next. Plug for myself, call our offices and we'll work with you one-on-one. But the next phase is really the recovery, okay? You've essentially destroyed your cannabinoid system, your endocannabinoid system, by over-consuming THC, by over-consuming marijuana. And the problem that you have now is chances are you also have a dependence and an addiction on marijuana. A lot of people who suffer from CHS, when they're feeling sick, when they're feeling nauseous, they always think to themselves, well, if I smoke, I'm going to feel better. If I smoke, I can eat. When they fail to realize that it's actually the smoking that's causing all these problems, the only solution to CHS or cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome is actually prolonged or for the rest of your life sobriety from cannabis, which is complicated because a lot of the people suffering from CHS are addicted and dependent on cannabis, so now you're in this really crappy situation. But that's not what this video is about. I have other videos on overcoming marijuana addiction. Check them out above. But now you're left at home, you're watching this video, what do you do to recover? Let's talk in this video about nutrition, okay? Because one of the hardest things for people recovering from cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome is nutrition and figuring out what foods they can eat and figuring out how to eat without vomiting. So I'll tell you, when I was suffering from this, I couldn't really eat anything until much later on in the evenings. And after working with hundreds of patients suffering from this condition and reading, honestly, thousands of emails that come into our offices about this condition, nutrition is the most common question that people have. And people usually find they can't eat until later in the evening. But what can you do? We have to heal your body. Let's treat this like you're essentially malnourished. Your endocannabinoid system's out of whack. You're malnourished, so what can we do? For the morning time, if you can stomach anything, I usually recommend getting a bone broth protein drink. You usually get about 10 grams of protein in a bone broth. And I personally really benefited from warming up bone broth and drinking it like in a coffee cup. I don't know where my coffee cup is. Here it is. I'm the one who knocks. Any Breaking Bad fans with cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome, I'm the one who knocks, right? So drinking bone broth, in my opinion, is a great thing to get some protein back into your body and not wind up throwing up. So your mornings and your afternoons, a great thing to start with, bone broth. And you can even make bone broth if you're suffering from cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome, and you can get like some frozen organic spinach or some frozen organic leafy vegetable, and you can put that right into the coffee cup with the bone broth and warm that up, and now you have like a soup broth with some vegetable in it. So that's thing number one for protein. The next thing is we want to start to get some healthy fats in your body, and what I found to work really well for me was organic sun butter. This is sunflower seeds. Now, why was this so good to eat? Well, it has 19 grams of fat in it per 2 tablespoons. So we want to start to replenish proteins and we want to start to replenish healthy fats. And sun butter is an excellent source of omega fatty acids and healthy fats. I put links to all of these products that I'm mentioning below, so you can find the links in the description to each of these. But sun butter, I would usually just eat this right off the spoon, or even better, my midday snack would be taking 2 tablespoons of sun butter and smearing it over a Kind bar. And you're probably thinking, this guy is nuts. What in the hell is he talking about right now? But I would then take this sun butter, 2 tablespoons of it, and smear it over the top of a Kind bar. And I found that that was a food that I could eat. A lot of people that I work with in recovery from CHS, this is one of their favorite snacks to eat when they can't eat from smoking too much weed. Now, we got a few things in play. We have protein from the bone broth, healthy fats from the sun butter, and we now have some carbohydrates and some more seeds and nuts with a little good tasting dark chocolate from the sun butter. Now, one of my other favorite things to consume when my stomach was upset was almond milk. I don't know what it was, but unsweetened almond milk was a go-to drink of mine. And I would just drink this cold. And again, I would have this maybe as a snack during the day. Sometimes I'd have it with dinner. I know it sounds weird, but guys, it's weird when you have CHS. But almond milk, this was a great thing that I would drink throughout the day that I felt really helped benefit my stomach pain. Now, as I got to feeling a bit better, I was able to eat dinner during the evenings. And my dinner advice would be this: the more plain, the better off you're going to be. So for me, and I'm not saying this was the healthiest thing in the world, I liked to eat turkey club sandwiches. Little bit of mayo, fresh carved turkey, 1 slice of lettuce, that's it, with some french fries on the side. Cheeseburgers was something that I really enjoyed eating. Meat, cheese, and a bun. Nothing else. I couldn't handle ketchup. I couldn't handle any sauces. Potato. I would eat just a plain baked white potato with butter. Plain and simple. I want you guys to think plain Jane instead of Mary Jane when it comes to foods that you can eat to recover from cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome. Now, one of my favorite things eventually that I started to consume were protein shakes. And I would do this, and I'll put a link for this below. It's Strength Genesis Pure Zealand Vanilla Whey Protein Powder. This is a grass-fed whey protein powder sweetened with stevia. This stuff is fantastic. I still use this stuff today. And I would take a scoop of this. I would take 16 ounces of almond milk. And I'm not recommending this early on. Definitely not recommending this early on. But as you recover, I would even use a little bit of creatine. There's creatine monohydrate, and then there's another form too that's easier on the stomach. Now, I was taking creatine to help with the fatigue, to help with the muscle problems that I was having, to help with the energy problems that I was having. But again, I couldn't do this really early on in my recovery from CHS because creatine for some people can actually cause stomach pain and cramping and muscle problems. So I just keep that in mind. May or may not want to do this. But I guess my point was shakes. The protein shake with the almond milk was like a lifesaver for me when it came to CHS. So if you're suffering from cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome and you're constantly throwing up, you have constant joint pain, you smoke a lot of THC, first and foremost, you have to get sober. You have to stop smoking. There's no way around it. You have to stop smoking or this never goes away. Thing number 2, don't use CBD. I'm going to make another video on the benefits of CBD, totally different topic, but do not use any cannabis products. 0 cannabis products or it will trigger CHS. Even years down the line, years later, you could still get sick if you use cannabis. Thing number 3, focus on foods that provide you with healthy fats, healthy sources of carbohydrates-ish, healthy-ish, healthy proteins like you get from bone broth, almond milk, okay? We got a lot of good things here. Now, the other thing I want to say when it comes to recovering from CHS, I highly recommend picking up this book, Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers. I put a link for it below. This is an unbelievable book when it comes to managing anxiety and depression that surrounds CHS. I know when I was suffering from cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome, that constant vomit, it wears on you. So talk therapy, talk to people. If you don't have anyone to talk to, call our offices. We'll help you out. But talk therapy can go a really long way so you know that you're not nuts. It's important to understand that you've probably been addicted to cannabis for a long time or putting your body through this for a long time. So healing is going to take a little bit of time. After about 2 weeks of sobriety, you should start feeling better. After about 3 months, you should really be feeling significantly better. And the last thing I want to say is light movement, light exercise. So if you're able to go for a walk, go for a walk. Just realize doing like light yoga, Pilates, that's a great option too when you're recovering from CHS. Just understand if you're used to being really active, right now you might not be able to be active because your body's recovering and healing. And a lot of people who try and work out, heavy weightlifting and do that while they're in recovery from CHS, a lot of times it doesn't work for them. They just get really sick. So that joint pain gets really, really bad. So don't push it. I want you to stay active. I don't want you to be laying in bed all day long, but I do want you to take care of yourself and not go overboard. Check out the video that I posted. It's another video on cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome. It explains a lot more about what it is, why it happens. I'll see you in the next video. Be sure to hit the like button if this helped and subscribe for more great content. This is one of probably 100 videos I'm going to do on cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome. So see you in the next video.